Hello, and welcome to my bedroom, where I stand with one of my most prized pieces that I made in the last year. This is my most prized and treasured piece because this piece signifies a massive transition in my life and in my personal art practice. This piece is untitled for a reason, and it is very, very special to me, as I've said. But I wanted to share it with you today because I've actually been wanting to talk about this piece for a while and the inspiration for this piece, as well as what it's made out of, how I made it, what the process was like, and what it embodies, what it's about, what is the story behind it, and why did I make it. So I will start off going over the materials, the inspiration, the process, and the result. And I hope you'll stay and watch till the end. A couple of semesters ago in my community college endeavors, I had to take a 3D art design class, and it was not a digital design class. It was 3D art for studio arts. So this meant that I would be making sculptures with different materials, and I fell in love with this class. I had a wonderful professor who I had in a previous class before, and I was just blown away by the inspiration that came through me using multiple media in one creative piece. And the reason why I felt a lot of inspiration come internally is because this was also something I had been doing in my personal art practice before taking this class. And my teacher really allowed the space for us students to be able to use the threads that we had going on within our personal art practice and in class to essentially weave together a piece. And we could use any materials for this project. This was my final project for this class, and it was a culmination of all of the things that inspired me throughout that semester. And the materials for this piece included a wooden frame, sand, spray paint, seaweed, dried roses, lavender, thread, Polaroid images, digitally scanned images with love notes, and a print that is in the back here, a print and sticks and leaves. The inspiration from this piece came from a few different places. At first, I was really inspired in my personal art practice to be using natural elements. I had started using flowers, rocks, shells, and things and incorporating them with my abstract work. And I wanted to carry that through with this piece. It just felt like something that was there, and so I followed through with that. Another form of inspiration came from the artist Sheila Hicks. I had gone to a museum, I think it was SF MoMA, and I was completely taken aback by her beautiful pieces incorporating thread as a textile element in her artwork. So it was absolutely gorgeous. I'm still very fond of her work, and that was one of my main sources of inspiration in the thread component of this piece. So in the class, it was said that we wanted to thread together our inspirations, ideas, and skills and techniques that we had gained throughout the class. But I take things metaphorically, and I can also take things literally as well. And so I actually did use thread in this piece. And it was inspired because of Sheila Hicks. But Sheila Hicks was one of my main forms of inspiration, as well as this beautiful show that they had at BAMPFA in Berkeley for quilts. I will share more about that in the description, but this show that they had essentially was the history of quilting in the US and how it moved from the Midwest of America, the South, through to California, and how quilting developed in African American communities. And when I went to this quilting show, I was floored at how beautiful these quilts were and just how stunning the craftsmanship was, and the love and comfort that you could feel behind these pieces that were intricately woven together with scraps of clothing, scraps of fabric, all types of different thread. And it really, to me, spoke about how you can use different elements to pull together something that symbolizes comfort. And those elements that you pull together don't always come from beautiful places. They can come from dark places or from hard places, like what was happening in this quilting show. A lot of the fabrics and materials were recycled or had hard to access at those times and not easy for people to come by. So secondhand clothing, things like that. And so these inspirations really started to sort of settle in my mind and made me think about how I wanted to create a piece that symbolized the transition I was experiencing in my personal life, where I was going from this really tumultuous and hard past that was filled with a lot of darkness, a lot of violence, a lot of verbal violence, a lot of negativity. And in some way I saw that as love, and in some way it was comforting. And I wanted to manipulate that into the transition of having found a healthy love, a healthy way to express and be in love. And so I came up with this piece, and I had a few sketches, and overall I sort of just generally knew exactly what I wanted it to look like. I knew I wanted it to be like a triptych in a frame, because I wanted the frame to embody the past and be a container for what is actually present or was present within this transition. And so I, through sketching my idea, sort of came to the understanding of what other materials I wanted to add into the piece. And I am from Rhode Island. So Rhode Island has the ocean. It's where I spent a lot of my time growing up. I've spent a lot of time by the ocean here in California too. And it's important for me in my journey through life to connect with the ocean through healing myself. And it's a huge modality to spend time in nature for me, but specifically in the ocean or by the ocean. And I think this also stems from my ancestors being from the Azores, and the ocean is in my spirit, it's in my blood, it's in the transitions of my life. It's something that always calls to me, and I tend to gravitate towards it whenever I'm in hard experiences in my life. And so I knew that obviously one of the elements that I wanted to incorporate into this piece was symbolic of the ocean, because the ocean is what helped get me through all of the darkness that I had experienced at that time, was sitting by the water, experiencing the water and feeling the fresh air, feeling grounded in that element. I also embedded the symbol of threes in this piece. So we have 3 knots of thread, we have 3 Polaroids, we have 3 portions of letters, and we have 3 roses. There are also 3 sticks here, and 3 is a very important number to me. 333, the angel number, means that your ascended masters or your angels or guides are with you and watching over you. And I've always felt in life that I've been protected, I've been safe, even in the hard times that I've experienced. But I wanted to pay homage to the reality that I am being cared for by my ancestors and spirits in spirit world. And at the time I made this piece, it was very important for me to practice ritual. And so this in a way is a sort of ritualistic art piece. It's a piece that connects to a time in my life, to a very significant period of time where I heavily relied on things like affirmation, connecting to spirit, cleansing my energy, and using modalities that helped me to feel grounded and safe in the present. And so I wanted to embed 333 as a reminder to myself of what this time was like. I don't think I'll ever really forget, but you never know. And so, yeah, there are lots of threes in here, and then there's also two. So there's 222 by there being double exposure images here, and in the double exposure images, I am by the ocean, and there's sort of this timeline, if you will, of me identifying that I'm in a hard place, identifying that thereafter I have freedom, relinquishing to the grief of being in that hard place, overlaid by being in nature in that hard place, and then the overlay of me and my partner currently, my current partner, holding hands. So there's double exposure on each of those, and I thought that that was important to add as well, because 222 is a significant number for me as well. Yeah, there were all of these little bits. I wanted to add sand, and I wanted to add driftwood, which are the sticks that are on here. And I wanted it to be heavy. I wanted it to be light as well. I wanted it to be an embodiment of yin and yang energy, of sort of the clashing of the two. But I also wanted it to embody the comfort of moving through something that's challenging and finding peace beyond that. So in the process of making the piece, what I did was I gathered all of my materials, and it took me about a couple of days to put it all together. The first step that I did with this piece is I gathered all or a bunch of the love letters that my current partner has written me in the duration of our relationship, from when we started dating until I had made this piece. And I gathered a bunch of them. I put them all on one sheet of paper and scanned that sheet of paper so they all looked like one cohesive large love letter. And then once I scanned that, I painted on that with acrylic and ink, some abstract strokes and things to sort of break up the colors of the post-it notes, which some of them were, and just the overall hue that was coming off of the post-it colors. And then what I did was I painted it and I scanned it again. And then the next step was I left that and sort of just sat with that for a little bit and decided how I wanted to use it. It was sort of like a step-by-step process of exploring and knowing what I wanted to do. And so I did that, and then my partner and I went to the beach to take these double exposure photographs where I had actually experienced the turmoil in my life significantly. And we took new pictures sort of to restore my experience at that beach, and also to really connect with the fact that my partner and I also fell in love at that beach. So it's like the beauty and the hardness all exist. And yeah, we went there, we took the pictures, we were really satisfied with them, and then we came home, and then I decided to, while I was at the beach, collect sand and seaweed to apply to this piece. And I let it dry out when I got home for several days, and then I sort of gathered everything and put it together. And the reason why I put lavender in here is because the relationship that I have with my current partner is heavily based on peace and comfort and ease and safety and blessings and respect. And so all of these things, when I think of that being embodied in a plant, I think of lavender and how peaceful and soft and gentle it is. And not to mention, it's also our favorite plant together. And so I wanted to incorporate that here. And the reason why I added the thread is because these experiences, this whole experience in general, is tied together through my life and my journey. It's part of my journey, and I'm very big on seeing the knots and tangles of my life and how things end up in hard places or soft places, and then how I move on from them then, and what I do to cultivate myself, or like rebirth myself. And so these are not only inspired by Sheila Hicks, but it's a representation of what it's like to be in knotted places and find beauty there. And so, yeah, I bought this frame from a local thrift store, and I painted it with black spray paint, and then I glued the sand in the frame, and then I used hot glue to also adhere the roses and seaweed and the driftwood. Altogether, this piece took me about 8 to 12 hours to make, and it happily lives on the wall in my bedroom as a reminder of my transition in life to go from being in a very dark place to a very beautiful one. A lot of the time I make artwork that comes from a space where I'm sort of doing it as though it's from my personal practice. It has less structure. I grew up doing abstract art and non-representational art, and so what happens when I make these pieces as part of the process is that sometimes it's just an emotion that comes up. It's just a feeling. It's just something that I feel come through me, and I know I need to let it out in some way. And that was also part of what made this piece come to be, was the feeling that I needed to purge my past. I needed to mark that transition of moving on, and I needed to really just show myself that things are different now. Things have changed. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.